Hello, and welcome to another episode of Endurance Minded. It's the podcast that looks at the psychological and emotional components of endurance sports and how they impact performance. I'm your host, Taylor Thomas, founder and coach at TEC. And on today's episode, I want to give you, the listener, some resources to allow you to connect with what we talk about on Endurance Minded. So I realize that a lot of these things that we discuss, these mental, emotional aspects and components of the whole athlete experience, some of these things that can be a little hard to grasp. They can certainly be hard to implement, certainly consistently. And so today I want to offer a resource, and I want to explain why this resource is important in a way that hopefully helps you connect some of these dots, to actually put some of these pieces in place in your own life so that you can reach your goals, so that you can be the best version of yourself, so you can be present, happy, and I don't typically cross lines in terms of my capacity at TEC and what we do with Thomas Endurance Coaching, which is the coaching group that I founded, and then what we do here on the podcast. And oftentimes that's on purpose because I want this podcast to be its own thing. I want it to be something that is uniquely valuable and resonates in a way that is different and serves a different purpose than what I do at TEC. However, today we're going to blur those lines because what we are doing at TEC is very much in alignment with the message and the mission of Endurance Minded. And again, it's that mission is to really understand and give weight to the complex and dynamic experience of being an athlete. And the real fact that it isn't just about workouts. That is a huge part of it. There is, of course, a physical component to exercise and to setting goals around our athletic endeavors, and the fitness gained from that. However, those things do not happen in a vacuum. We can't look at them that way, and if we approach them that way, then we are not able to actually reap the full benefits of the athlete experience. And that is at its core what I believe the most in is the ability of the athletic experience to impact all areas of our lives when we have the tools, knowledge, relationships that we need to pursue that athletic experience in a way that is fully enriching. So we're going to blur the lines today. I'm going to talk about something that we're doing at TEC, which is near and dear to my heart and really gets at my passion as well as the mission of TEC. And again, also provides hopefully a tool that really resonates with our endurance minded community and what we really are trying to accomplish on this podcast. So without further ado, what we are doing at TEC is we are currently kicking off what we are calling the 21-day Level Up Challenge. And what we wanted to do was really look at this kind of challenge setup, this challenge opportunity that exists in other places. You see them all over, right? 30-day challenges, 60-day challenges, 75 hard, so on and so forth. Lots of different ways to engage in this challenge concept. However, we wanted to do things a little differently at TEC, and what a lot of those challenges don't take into consideration or don't offer, or maybe more specifically don't address, is that they don't address what we call the whole athlete experience, which again is where the intersection of endurance minded and this challenge really exists. Is that the whole athlete experience is about understanding how our lives as athletes, how our goals, how our identity as athletes inevitably intersects in all areas of our lives, and that this is a whole and complete experience that that one has to be, I believe, has to be addressed in that way. We have to, at the onset, realize that this is something that, in many ways, is all encompassing, right? That our goals in the physical realm are inevitably going to impact other areas of our lives, and going to bleed into the mental and emotional aspects of who we are as individuals as well. So, these challenges that maybe just focus on weight loss, or just focus on gaining fitness, or just focus on building habits and discipline, those things are great. But so often the that whole athlete experience is removed, right? If we just focus on the fitness piece, we're leaving what's required to focus on that out, right? We're leaving out the what it looks and feels like on a daily basis to commit to that physical act. So, what what we really wanted to do with the Level Up Challenge is combine the very real fact that, as coaches and a coaching company, we help individuals build their fitness uh, towards a healthier lifestyle, specific goals, being the best version of themselves. However, we do that in a way that is, again, addressing this whole athlete experience. And so the Level Up Challenge is about leveling up mentally and physically every day for 3 weeks. So we're taking these two concepts that are often can be separate, and we're combining them in a way that is in alignment with how we think about the athlete experience, which again is, you can't have one without the other. You can't focus on the physical unless you understand what that means for you, from a mental and emotional place, right? And more specifically, you can't focus on the physical without taking proactive steps in the mental realm to help you um, reach your goals in the physical realm, right? So those things are not separate. They are one, and you can't have one without the other. And so again, that's why I want to elaborate on the Level Up Challenge today on this episode, and tell you why we're doing it, why it matters, and again, encourage you to use it as a tool to allow you to connect some of these dots, right? If you've listened to previous episodes, or even if this is your first one, this is really starts to get at the crux of so much of what we talk about on this podcast, which again is, it's these underlying components of our identity and lives as athletes that actually have so much impact on whether or not we are successful, whether or not we reach our goals. So we've created this comprehensive plan that gives you the tools to, again, what we're calling it gives you the tools to level up each day for 3 weeks. And the goal here is it just gives you the opportunity to check that mental and physical box every day for 3 weeks. It gives you the support that you need. It gives you that opportunity to check in. So, where on the physical side, we're giving recommendations on daily movement. So, less of a training plan and more of an opportunity to just check in and move consistently every day. So, things like going for a short run, strength training, a bike ride, different types of movement that allow you to engage in a way that feels best for you. If none of those things resonate, or if you have other goals on the physical front, we have a workout library as well that you can pull from, with more robust workouts, interval sessions, weighted strength training. So no matter where you're at in terms of your ability level or your goals, we've worked to make the physical piece work for you. And so we want to provide that consistent touch point. There is a training plan component. The workouts that are prescribed are progressive. So if you follow along, if you're looking for just that consistent touch point, or maybe you're not following, an individualized or structured or discipline specific training plan, you'll find that over those 3 weeks, the training is progressive, meaning that it builds on itself. So, you run for a little bit longer, you run a little harder, you do an extra set in the strength training workout. So there's ways that we're still looking at that athlete experience through the physical lens, because again, it is certainly there, and it is a huge part of who we are and what we do as athletes. So we wanted to provide that, and we feel really good about how we structured that. And again, no matter where you're at, you should be able to pull some ideas, some motivation from the training plan component and the workout library piece, and provide value in the physical space. Maybe more importantly is the mental piece. So every day there's a physical and a mental. How can you level up mentally and physically every day for 3 weeks? So the mental piece is some of the more nuanced components of being an athlete. So it's things like take time to be present, right? We run from thing to thing, trying to squeeze workouts in, trying to be there for work, for family, whatever. How often do you take a moment just to be present? So there's prompts in there encouraging you to set aside that time to really check in. There's checking in on your what we call subjective wellness ratings. So we've built into our platform a tool that allows you just to check in, right? Rate how you're feeling. What's your stress level? How's your sleep, your fatigue, your mood? These, again, small little moments where you can create space and time to check in and reflect, right? And that's really, I think, the biggest piece, and what it comes down to is these opportunities for reflection. If we just plow through a workout, we plow through our day, again, we're running from thing to thing, that reflection often is lost. We don't have the time for it. We don't make space for it. And then day after day passes. And before we know it, we're not really sure why we're doing what we're doing. And so these moments of reflection are built in to this 21-day challenge to really help you just make space and time for these small moments. Things like reflecting on your goals is another one. Another area is to go for a walk, right? So we might think that the walk is encapsulated or falls under the physical piece. And certainly there is a physical component to walking, but when we go for short walks, there is an aspect of being present, of checking in with our body, of quieting our mind. So again, we're just looking to shift the narrative around how we think about our structured days as athletes. And instead of just saying, hey, here's 21 days towards being a faster runner, or 21 days towards being a more powerful cyclist, we wanted to approach this in a way that really resonated with how we think about the, again, whole athlete experience, which is this idea that that it is a multi-pronged approach, or requires a multi-pronged approach, and that there's lots of different facets, and based on who we are as individuals and our past experiences, we're bringing so much to that experience, let alone what's required to actually show up and commit to being better versions of ourselves each day. So, little background on what the Level Up Challenge is, and now I want to go into why we're doing it. Why does it matter that we think about something through the lens of the mental and physical versus just trying to isolate the physical and do it that way, right? We could have just done a good old fashioned, 3-week challenge. If you're a cyclist or a runner, raise your FTP for, in 3 weeks, or, follow this training plan for, faster mile split, or whatever it is. While those things are important and certainly worth considering, again, it's when we remove the other components where that approach isn't as effective as it could be. And the other components are essentially everything that happens outside of your workout, right? I describe it as, what happens in the other 23 hours of the day, right? When we're not working out, no matter how long that workout is, what else is going on, right? What's going through our minds? How are we setting ourselves up for success? How is our physical pursuits adding value to how we move through the day? So there's lots going on. And again, if you listen to the show, we've really worked to unpack a lot of this and provide meaningful guidance on what it looks and feels like to get the most out of your athlete experience. So why are we doing the Level Up Challenge? Why is it structured this way? First reason is that we really believe that being an athlete is about more than just the workouts. So I mentioned this earlier, but so often when we think about the athlete experience, when we think about what we have to do as athletes, or even if you don't think of yourself as an athlete, but you think about wanting to get healthier, right? You realize that there is a physical component, there's an exercise component to being healthy. We would all agree that's the case. The power of the whole athlete experience is really found in a connection to the process, right? So yes, there's a workout component. Yes, it matters, if we get faster or stronger, if that's in alignment with our goals. But it's not just about the workout, right? Again, it's about a connection to that process. It's about understanding why you're doing it in the first place. And it's about using those physical modalities as an opportunity to connect with the larger experience and connect with yourself in a way that is more meaningful. So the first reason, again, that we really wanted to think more dynamically about how we offer a challenge like this, and it's something we haven't done before because we hadn't figured out how to do it in a way that was in alignment with our mission. And once we realized that the mental piece was missing, again, this connection to the process, this ability to check in and reflect, that's really when it started to resonate for us. When we realized that we had a real opportunity to present something that was both useful as well as impactful. So being an athlete is about more than just execution of workouts. To piggyback on that, another reason for me is that we also want people to see coaches beyond the workouts. I've spent most of my life working with athletes as an athlete, coaching athletes, coaching coaches, and so more often than not, athletes think of coaches, they often think about training plans. And it's a very linear relationship, right? An athlete thinks, I'd like to be more fit. I have some goals that I am maybe not sure how to reach on my own. I need some guidance. I'd like to be faster, stronger, so on and so forth. I need a coach to write me a training plan to deliver that information. That's totally fine. That is certainly part of a coach's job. But what I do want to do and what I want to stress is that coach-athlete relationship is much more impactful than just a training plan. The coach's job is to meet that athlete where they're at, no matter where they're at, and deliver an experience that is impactful in all areas of their lives, right? So I believe that a good coach or maybe a great coach is a coach that understands where the athlete is at, understands that to really get the most out of being an athlete, it's about more than just workouts. And so that coach works to connect with that athlete in a way that is meaningful and impactful over and above just the physical improvements that athlete can expect to see when working with a coach. So a, a part of this 21-day challenge is to hopefully shift the narrative around the value that the coach athlete experience can provide. Yes, there's a physical component. Yes, there's a training plan, or what I call a prescriptive component of the work that a coach does. But the conversations and the support in that relationship should be much broader. And what this level up challenge does is highlight some of those areas where the coached experience can be more supportive or equally as supportive as the support that's being provided in terms of the prescriptive component, the training plan. So I think there's a real opportunity to shift how we talk about the coach athlete relationship, and also broaden and widen the scope of who that relationship is for. It is not just for people that think of themselves as athletes. It's not just for elite peak performers. It is for anyone who wants to realize their full potential, who wants to reap the benefits of a consistent dedication to movement, who realizes that they are not not showing up for themselves in a way that is in alignment with their goals. That's where the coach comes in, right? And the coach is there to meet that individual wherever they're at. And that's really where I see the coach athlete relationship shine the brightest, is when we start to unpack and open up some of these conversations, some of these topics that maybe aren't even linked to performance in terms of the physical aspects of performance, but some of these other areas, again, with some of the mental pieces. So that really is a driving force behind how we structured this level up challenge, and why I think it has the ability to be so impactful, even if you don't think of yourself as an athlete. So I know a lot of our listeners are, maybe not classically identified, as athletes. You don't think of yourself as an athlete. Maybe you exercise or you move for general health, but you're an entrepreneur. You're, focused on your family. As our community has grown, so has our listener base and how those people think about themselves. So if you're one of those individuals who doesn't see themselves as an athlete, this is for you. I'd encourage you to really check into this, because I think it can shift your mentality around what it means to be an athlete. It's not just about doing hard workouts. It's about that consistent dedication. It's the act of showing up for yourself that creates that experience, not necessarily what your physical goal is. So the other why for this challenge is that we believe that discipline is really what we should be after. I've talked about this on previous episodes, but the idea, or the real fact, that discipline really has to come before motivation, right? We're not chasing motivation. If we are, it's fleeting. We're setting ourselves up for success. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes, right? Like any other feeling. Some days we're motivated, some days we're not. One of the greatest values of being an athlete, or committing to consistent dedication, is the discipline that is, one, required, and two, is developed in that pursuit. Discipline is what keeps you in the game, right? This is, and we believe that discipline required to move consistently, right? Required to show up for yourself consistently, in this case, every day for 3 weeks, will inevitably impact all areas of your life. Discipline is something that's sticky, right? In business, we talk about sticky products, things that stick with consumers. Discipline is sticky, right? That's a sticky thing in our lives. When we build discipline, that will bleed into other areas of your life. It can't help but do so, right? You don't build the discipline to show up for yourself mentally and physically every day for 3 weeks, and that same discipline not show up in how you execute in other areas of your life, how you show up for your family, how you show up for your work. The discipline required to move the needle, so to speak, in lots of different areas. So discipline is a big piece, and that's not to say that discipline. I think a lot of times in kind of the current rhetoric, that discipline can be misconstrued as this inability to have grace. That's not what we're after, right? I think that there's a softer touch necessary as we navigate the inevitable dynamic components of everyday life, right? It's not hard charging discipline, no matter what, at all cost. But there is a piece that is paramount if we want to show up for ourselves, and that is consistency. And to get that consistency, we have to build discipline. So discipline, again, by providing the opportunity to show up for yourself mentally and physically every day for 3 weeks, the discipline starts to take shape. Now, it might not be concrete at the end of that 3 weeks, but certainly you'll begin to understand what's required to put those pieces in place so that it takes shape and it takes hold long term. The third reason that we're doing this challenge, the third reason that I believe that it will resonate with our endurance-minded community, is that you have to show up for yourself on all fronts. You can't have one without the other. So what I mean by that is, if you just show up for yourself physically, I'm sure maybe you've been this athlete. I've certainly been this athlete. Maybe you know this athlete, right? They never miss a workout, right? Doesn't matter what happens. Doesn't matter how early or how late they have to stay up. Doesn't matter what relationships they have to sacrifice, one of them being a relationship with themselves. They show up for the workout, for that physical pursuit, no matter what. The problem with that is if we're 100% consistent there, or that's our primary focus, and we lose sight of what's required for us to show up in that space, again, the mental and emotional energy, the sacrifice required in terms of maintaining relationships with ourselves and others, what that means in terms of the time expenditure and maybe what we're having to sacrifice in other areas of our lives, whether that's on the work front, whether that's with friends, family. We are doing that experience a disservice, right? I believe that the pursuit of our athletic goals should add value, not detract from our experience as individuals, right? In our nuanced lives that we all lead, that have lots of different moving parts and lots of components that fulfill us. So I believe that you have to show up on all fronts and not just pick and choose which ones you want to be there for. The same would go for, you're really tapped in to the mental piece, right? Being present, taking time for yourself, making sure that things feel balanced, or that your flow throughout your waking hours uh, feels appropriate, but there's no physical practice. Well, again, physical practice is a critical part of overall health. Right now, it doesn't have to be hard workouts, but there is a piece of that puzzle that has to include a physical practice. So maybe you're given time and energy to these other areas, but you're not showing up for yourself physically, right? You're showing up for and executing in your career. You're very goal oriented, very clear, very focused when it comes to your objectives and your goals for your career. But is that at the detriment of a physical practice? Right? We see this a lot. This is where people really struggle to be consistent. So, again, you can't have one without the other. You can't be clear and execute in one area, but at the detriment of your ability to show up for yourself with a consistent physical practice. So that's why we're combining every day a mental and a physical piece, right? Because they both need to be there. And I would argue that they need to be there every day, right? Now, it doesn't mean you have to do a hard workout every day, but do you move daily, right? Do you check in with some sort of physical practice in a way that allows you to engage? So the third reason that we are, again, thinking about the level up challenge in a way that is different is because we think that in order to show up for yourself, you have to show up completely, right? You can't pick and choose, or it's not going to serve you to pick and choose. The fourth and final reason that we're doing the level up challenge is because we believe and we're committed to helping everyone realize the positive benefits of consistent movement. So there's a reason I said everyone, right? So let's go back. I mentioned even if you are not someone who classically sees themselves as an athlete, that doesn't mean that these pieces still aren't applicable, right? That a consistent movement practice isn't something you still need to engage in. That taking time for your mental health, taking time to think about how that physical practice is impacting your life positively, those things still need to be there. And so at TEC, we're committed to helping everyone realize the positive benefits of that consistent movement. As a coaching company, we come at things through the lens of physical movement, of exercise, of training. But that's just a way to start the conversation, right? That's just a way, that's an in. What it does, and what I hope that it will do, is broaden and open the conversation to allow us to focus on all of these areas of our lives where we can show up for ourselves and reach our full potential. Again, the physical piece, as an athlete myself, as someone who has worked with athletes for most of my life, I think that the physical piece is critical, right? I think everyone can benefit from understanding how you engage physically with your body in a way that is impactful, right? And it doesn't mean you have to train for a marathon, but everyone can have goals that are based in a physical practice. But I really want to, again, I want to change the narrative around what coaches do, how coaches and athletes interact, and the power of the relationship between the coach and the athlete when we start to realize that it's not just a physical piece, it's not just a training plan, that it is a real opportunity to have someone in your corner that's going to meet you where you're at and help you develop tools, knowledge, and give you a relationship that's going to help you reach your full potential no matter what, right? So not just in the physical space, but in all areas of your lives. And we're going to use consistent movement as a lens through which we can think about these things. We can compartmentalize these areas and have discussions around how each of these parts of our lives are, you know, how they're being how we're being impactful, how they're impacting our lives, how we're showing up in those places, where our deficits are at, our weaknesses, our strengths, and so on. But I really want people to understand again that through the lens of consistent movement, so much is possible in terms of how we reach our full potential and how we live fulfilled, exciting, joyful lives, right? Lives that allow us to be present, that allow us to feel confident, that allow us to be strong, that allow us to make time for ourselves and to value that time. This is something that's in short supply these days, right? Is our ability to hold our time and value it in a way that we have the space to show up for ourselves, right? I have conversations every day trying to help people develop the skills and the tools to hold that time and treat the time that they give for them to themselves with as much respect as the time that they pour out to others and to other endeavors. So, quick recap: 4 whys, the 4 reasons that we're doing the Level Up Challenge, and then the reasons that I want to encourage you to engage in this challenge. We will have there'll be a link in the show notes. You can sign up there, and the process is super easy. It just takes a few seconds. So the 4 reasons are: 1, being an athlete is about more than just the workouts, right? It's the power of a connection to the process. And when we expand how we move through each day as athletes, that process becomes more clear. And again, shifting the narrative around the value of the coach-athlete relationship, right? Starting to break outside of the prescriptive components of what the coach provides, and understand that the coach is there to meet that individual where they're at, no matter where they're at, all the time. Number 2, discipline, right? So the discipline required to move consistently will impact all areas of your life. And I stand behind that statement because I've seen it work every time. So this challenge is set up to start to build that discipline, right? To strengthen that muscle. You got to show up for yourself on all fronts, right? So you can't have one without the other. You can't have a consistent physical practice and not check in mentally and emotionally. Conversely, you can't show up in other areas of your life and not have a consistent physical practice, right? These things need to be meshed together. And that's what this challenge is going to help you do, is help you realize how those 2 pieces can play together each and every day. And lastly, we're committed to helping everyone realize the positive benefits of consistent movement. So no matter where you're at, what your background is, what you do from a physical perspective, we want to help you develop the tools, the knowledge, the know-how to realize the positive benefits of that consistent movement, right? Whether that's through the discipline acquired through that consistency, whether that's how that shows up in other areas of your life, whether that's the impact that a coach can have on your life. We want to help everyone realize the benefits of that consistent movement. So again, I want to encourage everyone to sign up for the 21-day challenge. It's completely free. It officially kicks off October 9th. If you sign up early, we have resources every day leading up to the start of the challenge, led by our team at TEC, that are going to keep you engaged, start to shift some of the pieces to get you ready for the 21-day challenge. Again, we'll put links in to sign up in the show notes. Also, follow Thomas Endurance Coaching on social media, and we're going to be doing tons of resources there, lots of content. You'll find sign up links there as well. So, again, I want to encourage you to sign up and to engage, and let this be an opportunity to think about how you can level up, right? How you can show up for yourself completely every day. So thank you so much. Please let us know if this is impactful, enduranceminded.com. And we'd love to hear how this is impacting your life, your takeaways, your aha moments. And, if there's things you're struggling with, let us know. As always, thomasendurancecoaching.com. And for more resources, for more tools, things that we talk about on the podcast. And lastly, rate, subscribe, and share. I am going to ask again, as I will continue to do, for you to rate this podcast, subscribe. New episodes come out every other Tuesday at noon. So subscribe so you can be alerted when a new episode comes out, and share your favorite episode or this episode with a friend, and help us expand our reach and our community so that we can live out the mission of this podcast, which is to have an impact on individuals' lives, right? Help people realize how they can live up to their full potential. And we want to be there to support you. So thanks as always. I'm extremely grateful for everyone's support, and I'll see you next time on Endurance Minded.